conversations as a public school agency, they just continue to see need to increase at that high of a rate. So it is something where the focus on in-district programming, we'll talk a little bit about New Path, is got to be a spotlight and something we're trying to do.
It seems to have stayed, like from last year to this year though, it seems consistent, like it seems like it.
Yeah.
And how often do you switch suppliers, for no better word?
So I think that's a tricky one because it's all dependent on the program and what they offer and what that student needs. What I will say is I don't have 10 choices when I'm looking for a placement for one kid. Usually it's under 5. And so it's like if one, and you don't necessarily, you can't and you shouldn't make the decision to move a student from a successful program based on a tuition increase, right?
Correct.
Like that's.
But if you only have 5 choices, then that's how they have great control over the increases.
Correct. I mean, we were talking about a potential student need, and there were 2 options. Like that's, or you've got wait lists. Like so, there is certainly still need in district, or need in the state to look at other options and do this work in district.
I appreciate the energy you put into that. I mean, we want to make sure our students are successful and they find a place that they can be successful at. So obviously, that's our priority. I mean, talking about the numbers is what we do today. But.
And New Path is one option, one example. I will also say the resources you guys have supported in our intensive learning needs program is huge. That is an in-district self-contained program in many ways that allows students to stay in their neighborhood schools to the greatest degree possible. And the resources we've put in that, it is having a ton of success under Christina Nordell's coordination and leadership, and just we were at a very different point a few years ago in ability to really stabilize that programming, and we needed the resources. We found ways to do that, to get the support, and it's helping us maintain our students with success in district.
I would imagine even when you get into some of these places, you don't want to move a kid from year to year either, because that's not good for them.
Yeah. So that leads us, again, as we talk about out of districts, as kind of an offset budget topic will be New Path moving forward. So later on, Melissa and Amy will go through kind of how we've set forward the New Path budget. We've worked really hard to kind of put a full budget together for a new program. It includes additional staffing in order to allow our program to grow. And within that budget, it assumes bringing both students back into district and, tuition students. And as Matt said, this is probably finalized prior to that meeting we were going to have on the 27th. I had 2 referrals. One started January 22nd. One is still in process for next year. I have gotten 2 additional referrals and got a letter of inquiry from a district that I didn't really even know knew we were open. We haven't walked in the door of 2 Farms Village yet. So again, we have to see what our district needs are first. What are our Simsbury student needs first? But I do also think we are going to have a lot of inquiry from local towns that are looking to also do the work we're doing, which is stabilize tuition dollars, utilize public school programs to the greatest extent possible, and the work we're doing offers that. I think the only other thing on New Path is really just that, it will kind of be its own budget, and at this point, the offset to operating is limited, and Amy will go through that. Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I assume the New Path looks like it's like moving forward and ready to. Is there literature on this? I mean, I imagine you've already done a presentation on what kind of staffing there will be, and who will be kind of programs and things like that. Is there?
I am happy to get you the previous presentations and information on the program that include both what our vision is, what we see we want to do with kids, what the dollars are behind why this is the right thing to do. In regards to walk in the door and get marketing material, we're so just trying to get this building open. I don't even have that yet. So it is forthcoming. It is in draft 4, but I want pictures. No, it was like starting, like we've been working on this probably since July of 2024, if I'm following my years correct. So there's multiple, we can get you kind of that final presentation that we've offered to the boards. I think it's really helpful to understand the history that was in that presentation as to why this program is needed and should be very successful. We really also have a great example in district of Farmington Valley Transition Academy. That is our collaborative program with Farmington Public Schools that exists over in Riverdale Farms in Avon, that services our students 18 to 22. So New Path in itself isn't a brand new concept to Simsbury, but the type of student that we are looking to use New Path to support is a little bit different.
Before you go on transition, the behavior technicians, I wasn't familiar with that, or don't recall that before. Is that a new thing that we're contracting with outside people, and does that affect the total paras that we're using in special education that are actual employees?
It does not impact the total number of FTE paraeducators that we have in district. What it does do is allow us to look at a little bit more specification of that non-certified adult support needs, and it is not something that our paraeducators currently have training around. So it's just kind of a little bit of an offshoot, and sometimes it helps support kids with more specificity in the area of behavior. They have a training and background.
It's more of an additional cost versus a cost savings of somewhere else.
So transportation, going to that third bucket, this is the one where you'll see a little bit of an increase, but what I would say is that proposed increase of 3.8% is really just contract market need, and it's based on the conversations around what is the appropriate cost of services increase. So we continue to see a decrease in our Salters, what we will term extra contract. What that means is anything above and beyond the district contract that we utilize with Salters. So that's additional hours for going out of town, things like that. We're continuing to see a decrease in that because we are trying to condense kids. We don't have as many kids leaving town. The use of Latimer for preschool has actually helped in balancing some of our preschool transportation for special ed. So that we've done a lot of work with and thank our partners at Salters for. And then we also, again, the 3.8% is that estimated contract increase for both Salters, who's our primary provider, and we started a new relationship with M&J Transportation to help stabilize some of that third party contract need. We know what it's going to cost. We know who can do it, and they've been really helpful to work with versus like if Salters couldn't take a run out of town, we were
Scrambling.
And we had different companies, different rates. This has really allowed us to budget and understand that cost better.
Can I ask a question? I feel like, we've had the transportation conversation has been ongoing for 4 or 5 years probably. I just wanna make sure I understand it correctly. So the 2.1 million, that is special ed transportation, that's about almost 10% of the total special ed budget?
About, yeah.
Is it the total budget is 90-something million and special ed is like
About,
a quarter of it?
so it's probably
How does
just
that
under
compare to like the
10%.
other 3/4, the non-special ed? Is transportation a lower percentage of that versus, I'm assuming it's substantially lower?
The Salters contract for just the 26 buses,
Correct.
it's less than that.
So,
Because they're not gonna take them as far. And it's complex and everything.
Different market.
Special
Yeah,
routes.
they're doing everybody.
they're individual.
And we own the buses.
Correct.
So
Oh, I forgot about that one.
So we have about as many vans running as we do buses, so it's pretty, and again, we don't own them. So, okay, so that takes me into the final bucket under special education. So this is what are we looking in regards to 26-27 staffing requests. It's limited given the support you guys have had over the last few years, as well as, again, some of these are just continuing to adjust for caseload. We've talked a lot about caseload. Again, as a reminder, those are the number of students that receive special education services that a special ed teacher oversees. So looking to adjust to caseload increases at Latimer Lane, our school that continues to have some growth. We have the highest caseload average there across our elementary schools. So gave an example of with the 3 teachers they currently have, what it would look like versus if we add the requested staff. So that's really more of just a per pupil need. And then the other is continuing to just adjust to our related service areas. So speech and language pathologist, a 0.6. Last year we requested a 1.4. We were able to use some grant dollars to add we requested a 1.4. We were able to add a 0.4 in August of 25. We continue to see a little bit higher caseloads than we'd like, so just continuing to try to adjust that. Lastly is some additional administrator support for supervisors. This just allows for additional summer work that allows for greater consistency, keeping those programs nice and supported, and really making sure that we do the work that's needed to provide success for our students. So in total, laid that out in regards to projected cost and FTE. And I think that is it. Any questions?
Okay, one question on the budget request. Do you find if you go out looking for a 0.6, how does that impact the pool versus just going for a 1.0?
It's a good question. I as a speech language pathologist myself, I think it's a little different in the related service area than it is in as a teacher. Related service providers sometimes have the opportunity to do different, like they could work in nursing homes. They kind of like to keep their skills because again, they're certified to work with people from birth to much older. So oftentimes they're looking to keep their toe in the schools, or the other thing that we find with related service providers is they if they have families, they don't want to come back full time. And this is a good opportunity. So, it can be tricky in that regard. Maybe it makes this pool a little bit smaller, but so far we've been able to fill those positions and continue to, it's not a class of kids, so it's easier to certainly put together a workload of a 0.6 than it would be for a teacher.
I appreciate that insight. And then just one other thing I'll mention, I'd mentioned it previously and just kind of like not for this year, but something to think, just get your thought on it. We talk about transportation, we talk about growing New Path and all those things. Something to consider is at some point, if transportation keeps going this way and we're starting a new program, do you bring a van or two with a driver or two into the New Path umbrella and cut down on that? It seems like you've made an argument about that.
So at FVTA, just a really good example. We're not there yet for New Path, but at FVTA there is a small fleet of vans and a mini bus, and some of our job coaches there, people that work in there, are trained with the right classification of license to transport students and to cut down on contracted transportation costs while being able to still afford students opportunities within the community, job internships, things like that. Is it part of the New Path plan? Absolutely. For next year, we're not there yet.
That makes total sense. It seems like the same premise of what makes New Path so smart. There's a growing cost. How do we get ahead of it? You bring it in-house. Transportation, there's a growing cost. I know there's insurance and things, but you bring some of it in-house and maybe you cut down on those far runs that are just costing so much each run.
Neil, I'm assuming at some point there was a benefit to buying our own buses. Is there any benefit in buying vans? Or
I would think over time it's something that we
could look at.
It's like paying cash for your car, or leasing your car, and like over time you're assuming over
well,
a long
just
period of time
assuming
you
that
might
there was
save
some
$100.
reason we bought the buses way back when, and so.
Yeah, that relationship with Salters is so unique when you look at it comparatively, and the van kind of business and industry is so different than the bus business and industry right now. But to your point, I think it does require more thought as we move forward in different areas. Like, we don't have the challenges to staff vans, the industry with finding people to drive buses right now. Like, it is not a vibrant area. I mean, they really struggle with the age of the workforce, willingness to get involved and get trained. It's just, it's like an archaic industry compared to where the vans are
Scary.
going now. It is, yeah.
Matt, I have just a quick question.
Yes,
We haven't always, JR threw out the date for me of just last week. Like it was in the 80s or 90s, like a decision was made to buy the buses. So I'll get a little history from JR about, yeah.
I'm just trying to like or compare the numbers to like the beginning, like so the 3 requests come out to like $190,000.
Yeah.
What is the reference point earlier on in the operating budget detail that we should be comparing that to, where I see a special education line for 277.
where are you?
So I'm on Katie's last slide that showed the 27 staffing requests for
Yep.
108, 65, and 16, which totals like 190,000. I'm probably looking at the wrong slide. I'm back under your presentation on slide 17.
Right,
It'll be included in Matt's presentation.
yeah, I'm gonna go over all those, yeah,
Cool.
tie them out.
Yep.
And there's a little difference in some of those numbers because of the progression of
Correct.
the presentations, yeah.
All right, ready?
Yes,
We're gonna
Mr. Sullivan's up.
All right.
the obviously each year, usually in like January, I do the personnel drivers, and as longtime board members know, it's a people business, and you spend the vast percentage of your dollars on people in the form of salaries and benefits. So this is
Staffing
Where?
after the blue page. So for each one, the blue page is the middle from the previous prezo to the current prezo.
This is December 9th.
It says
Correct, so
December
that-
19th.
The date's wrong, but that's the one we're looking at. No, then the,
That's not.
No, for this one, it went the other way. So if you
Oh.
look at staffing and
We just-
enrollment,
look at that. It's flipped.
Just wanna keep you honest, that's all.
open up the tab.
I thought I had it.
Then January 27th.
You did.
It's supposed to be the other
January
way.
27th,
Switch.
because that's when Neil
I was supposed to be doing this on
present.
January 27th.
And that would have been fine, it was just that last page said
That you
February
had on your,
7th still.
yes, see, I'm with you.
Right,
I got you.
There we go.
But
following along.
regardless, the blue thing is the divider between.
Yes,
Thank you, thanks,
Okay,
Brian.
thanks, Brian.
You're on it.
That's all we got. You want that blue page.
All right, so as I always try to do, put a little bit of context to those of you who have seen this presentation before know that sometimes I've compared enrollment and staffing numbers across a broader span of time. I have now decided to this represents kind of the post-COVID window. COVID did many things, and also one of them is it messed up my nice, neat staffing numbers with all that we did to shift teachers and
It really messed your data.
yeah, it really did. So this is now a cleaner side-by-side look. So this is enrollment before we get to FTE. You can see that over the last few years, we have seen pretty steady enrollment. We have actually yielded some FTE cuts at the high school, even though we're down just 42 students. We've taken advantage of some retirements that we didn't fill at the high school. We have not gotten a lot of enrollment-driven help elsewhere, but you will see in the presentation that we may finally be at a year at the elementary where we can yield some savings. This is an FTE comparison of the last 4 or 5 years, and you can see that we are up slightly in certified staff and up more significantly in non-certified staff. But what I want to note on the heels of Katie's conversation, much of that staff is reimbursed with grant dollars. So if in that case, it's a way that we sort of protect the operating budget, okay? So that the impact of new staff doesn't hit all in the operating budget, and that's important as in terms of how we can keep the operating dollars down. On the bottom, you can see that most of the new staffing during my 10+ years in this position is for special ed services. Almost all of the increase in FTE we've seen over a period of time, vast majority of it is for special education. Break it down by elementary, middle, and high school as we look at the staffing. And you can see elementary enrollment. We're on 4 straight years with 110 classroom teachers. That's just K through 6 classroom teachers. That's not counting art, music, PE, special ed. And with the projected enrollment of 2093, it doesn't look like you would save any dollars, but this year we do have an opportunity because each of Latimer Lane, Squadron Line, and Tooten Hills, Latimer Lane has 4 6th grades that will graduate and only projected for 3 kindergartens. Squadron Line has 5 6th grades projected for 4 kindergartens, and Tooten Hills has 3 6th grades projected for 2 kindergartens. So it's just a matter of what the size of the 6th grade class that's allowing us to potentially realize some savings, and much discussion of this. Our goal as we go into it is to add a section at Terriffill School in the place where there was only one grade, one class in the grade level. So it's a subtraction at Latimer, Squadron, and Tooten, and an addition at Terriffill to yield a savings of 2 teachers. In addition to the savings of the 2 teachers, those of you who pay close attention to our budget workshops will know for the last couple of years we've been trying to have a part-time teacher move to full-time in strength. It is more than justified. It's a very minor cost.
She's on the phone. That's Jess. She's on the phone.
Finally.
Yes.
Finally. How many years have we been talking about this one?
Jessica said she's smiling.
And then again, on the heels of Katie's presentation, a special education teacher at Latimer Lane, where we are seeing larger caseloads, and the speech and language addition. So that's the entirety of the staffing requests at the elementary level. And then we'll look at it this way. What are those requests for 1.8 FTE, but we are subtracting 2 classroom FTE, and we have one other position of a writing resource teacher that that person was sort of a district-wide resource, retired in October of this year, and we haven't filled it yet. So this would be the intention to continue to not fill that position. Our literacy practices have shifted greatly anyway, and our language arts consultants and others are supporting that literacy work. So significant savings in that position, so that what you're actually seeing a decrease in FTE overall at the elementary level. At the secondary, very stable. The middle school, no request for FTE. You can see that the 25-26 is 62.69 FTE, and that's what we are saying would be the same. There is a desire by the administration and Henry James to maybe add some math sections to help with their interventions. If we're able to do that, it will be a teacher who gets shifted a little bit from the high school. And we do that once all the enrollment numbers come in. We determine how many sections each department needs. So there might be an opportunity to borrow a few math sections for Henry James. We'll determine that next month. But right now, projecting flat. What does that look like in terms of class size? I like to show that we're being responsible about class size. You take the enrollment in each grade, you have 3 full teams on each grade. So you divide enrollment to get how many kids will be on each team, and you can see in grade 7, 113.3, in grade 8, 105, and then you divide that number by 5, because an English teacher teaches 5 classes, a social studies teacher teaches 5 classes. So those would be your average class sizes at Henry James. 22.7 and 21, quite appropriate for your class size guidelines.
We've been at 3 teams at both 7th and 8th grade for a year or 2 now, because when my kids were there, it was like 2.6.
Yes, it's been, I wanna say this is the 3rd year that we've had 3 teams.
Has there been like shuffling, like between teachers going up and down the 7th and 8th grade, if like a little bit each year if needed, or no?
A little bit, there's always somebody looking to make a change.
I didn't know if like there was a 2.6 at 7th grade or 8th grade, or if it was.
That happened for a little while. Yes, that happened for a little while. But very stable. At the high school, you can see I spoke of it earlier, we've actually saved 3.5 FTE over the last 4 years, even though enrollment hasn't dropped that much. This year, we are just gonna make do with what we have. We have 112.31 FTE. We're not making any further requests to increase the FTE. We do have a retirement in both mathematics. And retirements are one of the places we look sometimes to say, do we need to replace that? We'll make that analysis when the course enrollments come in. And you saw recently, you just approved at your last meeting, we do have a world languages teacher, a French teacher retiring. I do not anticipate you'll be able to save, because you gotta run a French program. Like if you did not replace that, you would really do damage to the French program. So I don't think there will be any savings in world language. A few themes, so the reduction of 3 certified staff, that's at the elementary level, leads to the net decrease of 1.2 FTE. I'm gonna show you in a moment, as board members know, our Director of Infrastructure and Technology, Jason Casey, is still with us but is transitioning out of the organization at the end of the year. We've taken a hard look at some other resources that we have in terms of technology, looking at some network support that we can put in place, and shifting some responsibilities around how we handle capital. So the proposal you'll see is to think differently about that position and to not replace it. It's another opportunity, so based on a person leaving the organization, which is when we take that hard look. Katie Crasulo's presentation comes before mine because special ed has been the top priority in terms of where personnel is, and it remains that. Very efficient use of personnel, and I did that class size thing to show you we are in the right place in terms of class sizes. We're following our policies. There are not classes way above guidelines. We're very efficient. Principals have made a few other minor requests. They know that if you're gonna make a request, you gotta tell me what you're gonna do without. Like that's and that has stored some discipline. I bring this up every couple of years. Monitor and adjusting to the lower wage. Connecticut's now passed a law that minimum wage goes up every year with the cost of living. So our salaries for our lower, which would be some paraprofessionals, cafeteria workers, we are needing to increase that on an annual basis. Just had to do it for January 1st. Those people received it. And it's not only but if you're giving a wage increase to some workers that are minimum wage, they tend, the ones that are just above that tend to get a pay raise too. So it's just something we have to pay attention to.
Kevin, I have a quick question. We said we're reducing some of the paras, the special ed paras from CREC, and we're bringing in behavioral technicians. How do they get paid? Does it come out of this?
I'm gonna defer to Katie.
Yeah, so that's part of the contracted service bucket, so
Uh-huh.
it's out of operating, but it is contracted service, which we appropriately budget for those, so again,
So
we,
that's separate than this? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Neil, I have a few questions.
Sure,
Okay, I'm sorry. I've been writing them down and now I
that's okay.
The math enrollment part, you said at at Henry James might be able to get help. If there's somebody retiring, is there really a lot of variance in math considering it's one of the core that every kid has to, it's not like, AP Gov, that not every kid
Yeah,
has to take math.
there's some things around coding, statistics, there is some variation.
Okay,
And sometimes it's just how the enrollment breaks and that you can get efficient with, okay, instead of 12 sections of geometry, we only need 11. And
cause do our class sizes guidelines go up for the high school?
no, the 21 to 25 is pretty much what we use for 7th through 12.
And the 7 through 12, is that size normal or, I don't know, is it done at all the our DERG, is it all like that?
I would say that's a very,
I would think that's kind of
Standard.
small, to be honest.
Is that in the contract?
no, it's not, it's a board guideline, it's not in the
And those guidelines have been.
It's a suggestion.
Years ago, right?
Cause I feel like they could afford more kids there or not really, cause our
That
DERG
might
is
be.
all that way.
Yeah, well, as someone who's part of the negotiating committee, I would advise against that because that's one of the things that every year they come to the table with. They don't like having that 24, 25, and if it gets to 26, you're in trouble, so.
At the
You're-
elementary for sure, but I didn't know if at Henry
all-
James
I think it's
and high
everywhere.
school, it was the same way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll have a few classes at each school that go to 26 or 27 students, but as I always say with that maybe one class in your day has 26 kids in it. At the elementary level, that's all day long.
Correct, right, I agree, that's what I was saying, they're gonna go to college where they're.
He's feeling the pain.
Yes, and then my last question is the special education at Latimer, do we have a chart that shows the per pupil or like the work caseload for elementary school, what the other ones are having?
We could bring that Tuesday. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we have that.
Non-certified, we took a part-time position that cleaned here, and we've turned it in with the opening of New Path. We have now created a full-time position that does 3 things. It cleans the central office, this floor basically, of the town hall. It does the internal mail run for the 7 schools. And then that person's gonna clean at the New Path building. So that's salary and benefits for a full-time custodian. Small increase in health services, it's the middle school that needs additional help, right?
And Latimer.
And 2 schools that need a little bit of extra nursing hours. No FTE change, we are making some secretarial changes in like classification for some people who have taken on some significant work at the high school related to all this testing for like APs, SATs, PSATs, and we're changing a job classification related to that. Reductions would be the one I spoke about earlier as Jason Casey exits the organization. So you're also seeing a net here that is savings. So we really bring a personnel budget that we think is really responsible. And overall, you can see the impact here. additions, certified, non-certified, reductions, and where it ends up landing. And then lastly, Matt's gonna come back to the big role, but these are the drivers, the main drivers of the budget. So if this was just it, it would be a 3.71% increase, and we're below that. So, you know, this is the driver, but Matt's gonna give you some additional context, and Matt and Amy.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Josh.
Two things that I'd like to just mention. The tear fill section, could that be recognized for the upcoming school year potentially then?
That's what I'm planning a second grade for next year.
Awesome. And then the other thing I would just kind of throw out there, and you had it up there for consideration, I think you've heard me right, the middle school math, anything we can do to help that, like I'd be supportive of, right? I know Sue and group are looking into it. But if there's a way there to get, if it's determined it would be helpful to have that support, I know you'll look at that, but I think that's a key thing for us is middle school math, so supportive of that if that's needed.
What's that?
Me.
Do we need like 5 minutes, get something to drink, stretch your legs, or do you wanna keep crying? Okay, good, then I'll pull it all together.
Stretch.
Where we go now?
New idea.
We go back to back to superintendent.
Main budget drivers.
Yeah, and we have a slide that says operating
I just feel like it's getting
increase.
It is cold in here.
it's getting cold.
I know, so it's cold.
Alright. So what I'm gonna do now, and I know we have numbers people in the room, so I'm just gonna caveat this. We had Neil's and Katie's presentation. People are gonna look to tie out like Katie's staffing number with mine. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work because mine take all this up to kind of like the most macro level and in and out it, and then kind of place it there. So you're not gonna be able to follow like Neil's staffing request versus mine because mine has like retirements baked into it and everything else. So mine's at a high level. You will get, as we go through Tuesday night, you will get line item detail. You'll get more fine grain on it that you'll be able to kind of pinpoint those. But if you see something that's like $35,000 off, it's because it's not apples to apples. It's not because it's a mistake. Fair to say, Amy?
I'm not sure she's feeling that.
See, I knew
She's like,
I knew you would believe her more than me, which
well,
is
Matt, you basically just said,
Mark, you like
yeah, that he's
I think it ties out more than what he's giving it credit for. It's
Right.
just done at the bottom
Yes,
rather than within
yes.
the
Okay.
yes.
No, we heard him say
Okay,
6
that
times
was
that
it.
he macroed it. He made it. He's
Yeah.
above and beyond. We heard that.
The asterisk.
All right.
That's such a Matthew thing to do.
I don't think he's giving it enough credit, but it's okay.
Very good. Very good. All right. So this slide, what this is representative of, pretty much are fixed costs. And I will say pretty much because we've put special education in there. We've had a lot of conversation over the past couple of years that there's certain expenses there outside of staffing that you really can't control because they're contractual as well. Things like transportation and outplacement. So if you really look at the overall roll up of where we're starting before we talk about major additions and major reductions to the budget, bottom line, we're starting this conversation at a 3.4% increase, okay? We often talk about 80% of our dollars overall in the entire budget are wrapped in staffing and wrapped in the associated benefits. When you actually look at this sheet and you look at the top 2 drivers, all right, of your 3.4, 3.31 is staffing and benefits. That's because we've done a lot of movement underneath. You're gonna hear from Dave Prinstein, you're gonna hear from other people today on areas rolling forward that we can kind of pull back on, or we can shove some dollars towards reserves or towards grants, all right? So we've made some decisions. So actually 90% of what we're talking about in these next few slides is staffing and benefits. So there's not a lot of room for wiggle, I guess is the point I wanted to make. So again, 3.31 is the contracts rolled forward. The insurance number right there, an increase of $809,000. That is inclusive of an $800,000 contribution from the Internal Service Fund to lower the overall impact of it. The Board of Finance, in their meeting after the tri-board, because of the healthy reserve levels, are making that commitment now. It's a little earlier in the process than that's usually happened, but we're going to bake that into our presentation because we've been involved in those decisions as well along the way. The special education increase. Now, board members at the table will know that number looked much more like 1.5 million, 1.3 million over each of the last 3 to 4 years. We show an increase here of 277,000. Really what that represents is a contribution to New Path. And without getting too much in the nitty gritty, because Amy has some slides she's going to show at the end of the workshop, we're having the ability to bring a couple students back in from out of district tuitions into the district, and we're going to utilize those dollars to contribute to the cost of getting New Path up and running and their overall operation. So we'll give you more detail on that. But safe to say the theme that we talked about publicly at the tri-board and Katie referenced, we've stabilized to the extent you can the volatile spending in special education. We know that a student can move in or things can happen, but we're in a much better place due to the contributions of this board and the support of other boards, to move forward with special education without seeing a significant uptick in costs.
Yeah, I just want to emphasize what you just said. I again, the members will remember this is a $1,750,000. I mean, we've really been working on this for the last 3-4 years, talking about out of district costs, transportation, everything. And I think we're starting to see the fruits of that labor. So really just wanted to take a second and appreciate everybody's efforts on this, because I think what we thought was going to happen, I think we're seeing it actually happen, which is fantastic. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Transportation is representative of the increase in the Salters contract. I won't get into some of the smaller ones. We'll get more details on when other people present, but I do want to reference the equipment. You can see a significant decrease in the equipment line item of $246,000. All right, so these are decisions we're making as we try to march towards that guidance and that guideline, and it's challenging, but we do have the ability to use some reserves to offset one-time purchases of Chromebooks. We have basically an insurance policy for Chromebooks. We've planned to utilize some of that balance over the course of last year. We did not have to tap into that. As a result, we have some more dollars there we can utilize this year, and we're just going to buy our Chromebooks from that fund for 1 year. We'll have to move the dollars back up into the budget next year. So it's not like it's not a cliff at all, but it's good use of the dollars. I think it makes sense and allows us to lower our numbers. So we're looking at all those areas. You'll see as we go through when Sue talks about, we've done that in textbooks. We've done that in a bunch of areas where we have kind of one-time purchases. You know, can we find a different way to provide relief to the operating budget? So again, starting point 3.4. And then we'll talk about how we're going to bring that number down more towards that guidance. And we have reductions at this point of $757,000. So this is the FTE that Neil kind of worked through. 3 certified FTE, 1 administrative position. So a total of, on the personnel side, of over $500,000 of personnel reductions, pretty significant movement in that area. And again, I think we've done our due diligence. Not that there won't be certain challenges when you go down in headcount, but a lot of credit to Neil, Amy and Melissa and others in kind of researching job functions and overlaid responsibilities and looking at the abilities of our own people and saying, no, then now is the opportunity to try to capture some of these savings. You can see the next line item is the non-lapsing account. So for new board members, let me try to give you a snapshot of what that is. Boards of education by law can keep up to 2% of their operating costs or expended or dollars that were not spent in a current year in a fund called the non-lapsing fund. And with board approval, you can utilize those dollars to offset challenges you may have. Historically, we've utilized those dollars to help us with special education on unanticipated costs. It's kind of the spirit of it. We currently, at the start of this year, I'll get you $860,000 in that non-lapsing fund. It's in better shape than it's been in years, which is a positive. So we're going to utilize some of those dollars to offset other costs. So that $183,000, what that represents, $86,000 in a one-time purchase of instructional supplies at the elementary level. I believe it's some of the reading materials for the new Science of Reading initiative from the state of Connecticut. So $86,000 there, and then $97,000 is the difference in the OPEB arc that we need to address this year due to decisions that will save us money long term that the Board of Finance has made, that they talked about at the tri-board. You know, a really good decision. We pay into this now. We'll see savings later on. So again, I think costs where it makes sense to say, hey, we have a safety net over here. We're marching towards this guidance number in good faith, and we can apply those dollars there. So that's where we get the reduction, which brings that 3.4 down to a 2.5, which is pretty significant movement. And then we take a look and say, all right, those additions, that we've talked about in the prior presentations today, and you roll some of those staffing requests in, it pops the number back up to about a 2.79% increase. Okay, so that
There's 80s and 194, the first three lines.
yeah, so that would be in a perfect world. So it ties out, yes. In a perfect world, where we were about 2 weeks ago, feeling really good about moving this number forward with very limited movement or probably questions by the other boards, because you're right at the guidance. So I feel like we did our due diligence, we did our work. Again, we'll talk more about this in a few minutes when Amy shares the data. There is $400,000 increase due to new projections in the insurance line item, which are fixed costs, that we are going to have to make decisions as an administration and as a board how to move forward with. All right?
Ask you a question.
Yep.
You started this entire conversation with, we're taking 800,000 from the insurance fund. Am I missing it? Is it in here at all?
It's in the insurance number in the first slide.
Okay.
So it's all baked
there.
in.
Okay.
Like that's
Okay.
what your increase is
Yeah. Okay.
with that $800,000
Okay.
offset in it.
Perfect. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Matt, I just have a question on the non-lapsing. I always struggle with this one.
Yeah.
I always view it like a savings account, and I think you say it's not. It can be up to 2%. We currently have around 1%.
Yeah.
Take a little less, and this is healthy for us.
Right.
How do we fund it? And is it leftover budget dollars, or is it a line item in the
Yeah.
budget, or I forget how the money gets in there?
Yeah, so it's surplus dollars from accounts can be pushed towards those. So when Amy closes the books at the end of the year and we make our budget adjustments, those are the dollars that
So
We're
then my
left.
question is the optics of it. Like, is it viewed
Yeah.
negatively to have 2% in there? Like, whoa, you're being reckless with your budget. How could you have that much left over? Or is it
I'll give you a politically correct answer. I think it's in the eyes of who's looking at that.
Yeah.
And what the situation might be at the time, right? I think as a Board of Ed, we may look at that and say, hey, we have the perfect level of flexibility to respond to unanticipated needs.
Yep.
Right? Because we don't budget contingencies into our budget. And in a tight budget year, others might say, hey, you have a surplus that you should utilize some of that even maybe for capital expenditures or for offsets. So I think there's no perfect answer, but I think doing this long enough, and even particularly, I want to speak for Amy, in the last 3 or 4 years prior to this, with the volatility of the special ed and not knowing if you're going to come in with a deficit or not, you're able to manage your operation and make much better decisions when you have a contingency availability that you're able to respond to.
so if the Board of Finance comes back and you talk about a $400,000 insurance, would it make sense to take another 400 out of there if we have 5-8, or is that getting us too low?
I think it's part of the conversation we need to have. The danger with that is you have cliffs. When you don't pay up on your insurance, that is a hard cliff that you need to find somewhere else. So that internal service fund allows us to smooth over time.
Yep.
But if you keep going back to that till and you take 400 off, you're going back 400 more in next year, right? So that's why I wanted to show Brian that, hey, basically we're at a spot in this budget presentation. 97% of what we're doing is a bullseye on staff, basically. So I think movement that we're going to make, if we have to make movement or the board wants to see things, is going to be people. That's the way you're going to get savings.
And
Alright.
Matt, is that fund like somewhere? Is that invested? Is it like?
It's in that straw.
We're not allowed to look at books.
God, his mattress so
Or
big.
is it like sort of a concept somewhere? I mean,
It's real dollars. It has it sitting in its own fund.
It's not a money making
It's just in
fund.
the ceiling tiles.
It does not allocate interest, because that's not how the fund was set up.
Can we change that?
That's a good question, now that the legislation has changed.
It's like investing your HSA.
Yeah, like
Right.
would you allocate
Yeah.
some of our money market to that fund? It's a good question.
Maybe if it was money market, the past 2 years it has been like 4% usually. Negotiate with the bank, so do you have that? Or no?
It's not negotiating with the bank, it's when the fund was initially set up, it was set up by the Board of Finance with Board of Finance parameters. And in those parameters, when they set up the fund, there was not an interest allocation that was allowed to go into the fund.
And when Amy referenced that legislation has changed
Yeah.
to allocate or spend any of those dollars down when the legislation first came out, you needed a vote of the Board of Education and a vote of the Board of Finance. That's changed. The Board of Finance does not have a say in how we allocate these dollars. It's a decision of the Board of Education. Not that they can't ask and can't inquire and know that the dollars are there, but we don't need their permission and they can't allocate those dollars without.
But can even
You
be
guys
structured
saying,
that
okay.
the interest can be still on the Board of Ed restricted, but you still have the principal, but it's earning something instead of being somewhere and just losing really.
Stuck on a bed,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, in some
Very true.
So all of our money is pooled together, so we have several different funds within the town. We have special revenue funds, we have our general fund, we have our health insurance fund, and some of the funds earned interest allocations and some do not. So all of our money is pulled together and the interest is earned. So that 860 or wherever it went, the 860,000 is with our $30 million that's in the bank. It's just when the money at the end of the year, every quarter, or whatever it is that we allocate interest to certain funds, the interest is allocated to say trust funds because, you know, they're incorporating our money, or but our interest is not allocated to say capital project funds because those are funds that we come in with and we choose to expend, so we're not going to build up on that. We're gonna use that as part of our general fund and put that in the pot to use for operating offset, or we're gonna use it for future capital projects or things of that nature. Health insurance fund, the same thing, we fund it through the operating budget, so we don't retain any of those interest earnings. So it's however the fund is set up by the Board of Finance, whenever the fund is set up. So chances are, at the time the Board of Finance, this was years and years and years ago, they probably said, yes, you can have your non-lapsing fund, but you can keep this amount of money, you can't keep building it up through interest income.
We can't invest it in crypto or anything.
That's a good,
No crypto.
Yeah.
that's a good explanation. So if I heard you correctly, it's part of what's earning interest, it's just not itself
We just don't get it.
recognized.
Exactly.
I just don't get it.
So it's in a
One
bigger,
question
in a bigger pot.
is am I making it too simple to say, and you may be getting to it, so if there's 400,000 potentially coming in on the insurance side, that would amend that number.
325.
That's the number, yeah.
It would take it from a 2.7 to a 3.25 increase if you put 400 all in.
That's where I was going.
So I look at it, and the way one of the reasons why Amy and I wanted to frame it this way is I feel like it kind of simplifies our kind of challenge or our work from 91 million to a $400,000 conversation, and what do we really feel we should be taking a look at, or how do we view those costs, and what are our options moving forward? So, but you're right on. Those dollars have to be addressed one way or another, and I think our recommendation would not be to offset them with further use of reserves at this point, because it digs a deeper cliff, but I think it needs to be looked at and addressed at some point. Jeff and I talked about, because if we don't do this, they're going to ask us to do this in a few weeks. This is totally reasonable. Now, whether we agree or not, or make it a decision or not is secondary. I think we should be able to provide this board with what that could potentially look like to find savings of $400,000. We don't have that today, but our thought would be maybe for Tuesday night, that's what we could be talking about.
Because their guidance was
2.6, 2.7 is where
If we
where
had gone
we
from
would be.
279 to 299 or something, it might not be as big of a deal, but going from a 2 number to a 3 number in their eyes is gonna be.
I think they would want to see it. Yeah.
Can you guys help me understand what the $400,000 is for? What is
We
this?
received new insurance projections, Jessica, just a couple days ago that are increasing the projection in insurance up $400,000 from what we had originally presented.
So the way our insurance works is we have to have that in a fund?
You have to have a,
Because we are self-insured, is that how that works?
yes, you have to have an appropriate percentage of that in the fund to cover the claims.
And what's the percentage that we would need in the fund? We wouldn't need the full 400 or do we?
We do.
Okay, so we need the full amount, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
So basically what I'm suggesting is I think if we're going to try to find the savings, they should come from somewhere else than to continue to go at a reserve in that fund. You know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And is this amount expected to be a recurring amount that we're gonna need each year? Or is this a one-time thing because we have some people with higher end health needs?
Amy's smiling at me already because she doesn't want me to talk,
I got the answer.
but it's a projection. It's a projection, so that projection can either hold or it can change based on the claims experience at the time.
I'll go through the data later on in the presentation.
I've matured in my analysis of the insurance industry over the years.
He just hasn't 14% matured.
Matt, new path out of district tuition. I know we can't use it as a business or a profit, but we can, the revenue dollars are potentially.
Yeah, we would have to talk about it, but we're not at a point where we're there yet. You know what I mean? In the build.
Because we're still there.
Yep, we're still in the build.
And I would say, just to kind of, we'll get to all this, but you were saying like 3-2 versus 2, I get guidance, I mean, looking at the other superintendent budgets in the DIRG, looking at our approved budgets of the year, I think 3-2 doesn't sound like a huge number either. I'll just throw that out there, right? Like, I mean, 2-8 is great, but 3-2 is not in any way. When you look at the number, I mean, Neil's slide alone, right? Like, you look at just like what it was at, 3-4, just on that,
right? And
then you come in at like 3-2, like 3-2. I'd say let's investigate. Let's look into Tuesday, whatever Jeff thinks there. But I mean, it's not like 3. I get what you're saying, but I don't feel like 3-2 is a bad number either.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of new change in information and at least do your due diligence, right?
Absolutely.
Can I just point something out though, just real quick, because whatever you decide, like, you know, you come in at 3-2, it does affect the overall budget because like we have an overall percentage number. So that's Board of Ed and town side baked into one number. And every time you're up, it actually takes away from the town side that we have the ability to do. So do we cut roads? Do we cut salt? So just in the bigger picture frame of things, not trying to say you need to do your job that you need to do, but big picture is then where do things get cut on the town side?
Yeah.
No,
and not pushback, but the counter to that is it's a guide. It's a guidance.
It's a guidance, absolutely.
And the
I
other
had the
part
same
of
conversation on the town side.
Yeah, the other part of that is when the guidance is given at a point in time. Mark and I talk about this all the time. Right, there's conditions on the town side that have changed too. There's new grand list growth that's more than we saw before.
Right.
So I just think it's a matter of due diligence, and you put all those cards on the table when we get to Amy's little mill rate worksheet.
I'm not saying not to do your job, and
No.
we are faced with the same insurance
I
problem.
think that's right. If we feel we're pretty close to bone and you're pretty close to bone, then you go back to the guidance.
Correct.
Yep.
It's a circular.
Sure. All right, so that movement off the non-lapsing would leave us with 586, which is a number I think both Amy and I are pretty comfortable with and being able to respond to some unanticipated needs should they occur next year. All right?
I think it's over to me now.
I think it is. So we're gonna get a little more specific now on administrators that kind of manage some of those smaller accounts, not smaller, but accounts underneath kind of the global presentation.
Do you want the guidance for Tuesday now, or do you wanna wait until next?
You can go, I mean.
I think you know what I'm gonna go with this. I think we need to figure out if there's a place where we can find that 400,000.
Yeah.
Unless, I don't necessarily think we need to come up with that answer today, but I just wanted to open that up.
Let's
For
just
the
do
this is kind of what we've done in previous years also, so just.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, right? Like, if we found all the 400, or maybe Jeff, maybe is there a middle number where it gets us under 3? Is there something you could do to get us to 2.9?
Yeah, and the way we've done this in the past, right, is like, hey, this is an idea, this is a suggestion, this is an impact statement.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then you have the ability to evaluate it and ask
I
questions.
just wanna give them a little time, because this literally came out like 2 days ago, so I
Right.
kinda wanna give them some time to figure, to work on it.
Good enough. Okay.
Which tab are we in now?
Okay, we're transitioning from slides. You're gonna go behind tab number 4, which says workshop materials.
Oh, fun.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're gonna see an agenda. Under information and reports and budget, we're about bullet 6 down where it says teaching and learning, curriculum, textbooks, professional development. So that's where we are in the agenda. Behind that agenda tab, you're going to come and now everything, if you turn your books, is gonna be landscape version now. So it all orients one way. And the
Nicely
first-
done.
You're welcome. And then the first piece of material is behind that agenda is the Office of Teaching and Learning major drivers. Okay, so I'm gonna speak to that, then I'm going to hand it over to Neil. He's going to, hold on, Jess is calling us back. Hi, Jess.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Then Neil is going to talk a bit about facilities and maintenance. We're going to bring Dave up to talk some tech, and we'll continue on with the agenda that way. But all of your materials now are going to be just turning pages, okay? So the Office of Teaching and Learning, there are many things that go certainly into this budget, but I want to share with you the 3 buckets of teaching and learning. And that comes under supplies. There's a lot within that. Textbooks, certainly, and then professional development, programming, curriculum development, and services. All right, so under supplies, there is a 5.62% increase, and that is due, it's just under $50,000. That's supplies costing more, okay? And when I talk about supplies, I mean everything from pens, pencils, paper, petri dishes, right? We have some custodial supplies that is built into that, any office supplies. There's actually I believe it's 5 years, we have to do a significant chemical waste disposal from our labs. That's at a cost of about $10,000, right? So that's not an every year cost. We also pay for some system-wide testing that you'll see there. That is all caked in that one bucket, okay? The next bucket is around textbooks. Matt mentioned there was some offset regarding some specific textbooks for the science of reading. In our new curriculum, which we had to transition to based upon legislative mandate, there are many consumables within that K-3 reading curriculum, okay? It's great materials, but they're consumables and we have to denote those in our budget. There's also a refresh on paperbacks in some of our cornerstone texts that we're seeing. Those have to be refreshed. There's only so much tape and patching them back together that we can do. And we also have some consumables in our current math program workbooks at the middle school. And we also are purchasing new texts for AP Economics and AP Environmental Studies. I have a system where I look at those texts over time, and believe me, I am extremely conservative when it comes to when I say we need new texts. It's time. So that's in our textbook account, so you'll see that that's quite a percentage up. Overall, that percentage equates to just over $60,000. But again, we have consumables that you have to utilize every single year. That third column is around professional and curriculum development. Here, as members of our curriculum committee know, we have rewrited a cycle of curriculum development. So there are hours that we put into curriculum development that could be after the school day, that could be in the summer. I use those and prioritize those hours. Under this bucket, under my office, also comes all of our elementary clubs, our leadership teams, anything associated with that falls in here. Any mileage, that's a big bucket. Conferences, professional dues. We do have a donation to Simsbury Community Television, but also our periodicals, our ways in which we keep up with state and national organizations that are really important to our craft. Advanced study dollars are a contractual support that falls within this bucket, as well as copiers. So there is, it's 3 very broad buckets that equate to overall a requested increase of 3.59%. And we can actually, I failed to mention in that last bucket, we have actually a bit of a reduction for some places within that area. So that is the overall increase for the Office of Teaching and Learning. But I know our systems are working. Our systems of assessing the needs through teaching and learning, I think, are really on point, and that's what I have to present to you this morning.
I'm sorry, just to set the stage for it, but I probably should have asked this right out of the gate, just to remind me. So when you're suggesting a total increase of 359, is that already baked into the?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this just gives you additional
Yep.
detail about the
That's
numbers,
what I
and that's
just
already presented.
What would you say is the number one driver in textbooks that's increasing it so much?
It's really a compilation here. There is some with the new benchmark curriculum. Again, it's consumables. I'll have to show you. You might get a kick out of seeing some of the new materials that we're using. Again, you have classroom cornerstone texts that are tattered. Those are really important parts of our curriculum, and an AP textbook is pricey. So if you're purchasing new sets, I mean, it chips away a little to really account for that increase, Steve.
It's like you really haven't touched them in years too, to this, so in a lot of ways it doesn't surprise me, I guess is what I'm saying, yeah. You agree?
Well, and you know what, we spent a long time not replacing textbooks in classrooms.
That's what I mean, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's what it was.
I mean, a long time.
Neil, over to you.
All right, I drew the short straw, I get the glamorous stuff with facilities and maintenance, because everybody knows what a handyman I am. We have 3 buckets here too in terms of, the first one is actually one of the only places in our budget where it starts from 0 every year. This is basically principals' requests for essentially classroom furniture. Ranging from almost no asks at all from a building like Latimer Lane because a construction project just allowed that building to be newly furnished with state reimbursement and all of that, to older buildings that need new tables, new classroom furniture. You wanna make a teacher happy, get them a new desk chair. That goes a long way, and that 155,000 is what was approved from the various lists the principals submitted and is actually representative of a slight decrease. Bucket 2 is all managed through the business office and by our supervisor of maintenance, Kyle Loveland, with basically things like sewer and septic. You see snow removal contract. We plow ourselves, our maintenance crews, 4 of our buildings, and we have to contract out for the lots of the high school, which is simply too big for us to handle, Henry James, and then we actually also, because of the layout, contract for cleaning out Terriffill School. So those are, those must have taken a big hit last weekend. That's obviously a pretty variable fund. Equipment repair, we have an in-house HVAC guy, we have an in-house plumber. This doesn't represent their salaries, but it represents when they have to buy materials and supplies, accounts that come there. And then grounds maintenance, it's our custodians, for the most part, are in charge of maintenance at their own buildings. Things like tree trimming would be in here, and then replacement equipment for mowers and snow blowers and everything else. And then lastly, I know that we work in conjunction with Tom Roy getting prices on our utilities. Not surprisingly, there's a increase here. It's not a huge increase, but we also lock in pricing on these for multi-years sometimes, right? So.
Someone.
And that's, I'm gonna be back later talking about capital stuff, but that's
Steve, do you wanna introduce yourself? I don't know if everyone knows you.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone. I'm Dave Prinstein. I'm the Director of Instructional Technology. I will present our technology needs for you this morning. In your binder, I don't know if you need to turn one more page to get to a very similar looking 3-column technology needs page. Just like with the other areas of the budget, we have 3 very specific drivers in the technology department. Also, like some of the other departments, within these drivers, some of these costs are very fixed. Some of these costs are slightly fixed, meaning that we can negotiate with the company. We can sometimes sign longer term contracts that allow drive the price down a little bit. And some of the drivers, especially the middle column, which I'll go over, exist to sort of balance those two things. We budget for those things based on, number one, what we need, what's coming to the end of its life, but number two, what we can reasonably expect to do in a year in terms of replacing some of these things. So I'll take you through some of this and what I will say in terms of generating this budget. It aligns very closely with our new district strategic plan in that we want our network and all of the people using it to be safe and secure. We want our workforce to be of a absolute premier quality, meaning access to the best possible resources, the newest things, everything working. And we want our students and teachers to be able to innovate to the greatest extent possible. That's sort of the philosophy that we think about when generating a budget like this. So in terms of licensing, that leftmost column as a driver, this is really broad subscriptions for the district and infrastructural security in terms of making sure that our network is safe. It also includes a subscription to maintain our virtualized environment. This is a very hot button topic right now across the state because the most common company that's been doing this in education actually was just acquired recently by another company. So a lot of districts are in the same place as us, and it's given us an opportunity to talk to a lot of people and make sure that the solution that we have in mind that we're going to enact over the summer and next year is like we're barking up the right tree, basically. Is this something that other districts are doing? And what we found that the solution that we're landing on, which is a Microsoft product called Hyper-V, is the most prevalent solution in other districts in the same ballgame. What happened was the company that we are using right now basically is pricing themselves out of the market.
So you're talking about the Broadcom acquisition?
Yes, that's exactly right. And they're losing K-12 school clients like crazy. So that seems to be the most popular solution. Obviously, we have to pay for our Microsoft license, which is our operating system. We pay for PowerSchool, which is our student information management system. Another way that we keep secure is through our multi-factor authentication system. And then obviously our budgeting software, which is Munis, same as on the town side. The middle column, which is equipment and replacement, these are the things within the district that you can see and you can touch. These are tangible items. Matt alluded to it in his roll-up, but those Chromebook replacements, we are on a projected year-by-year replacement. We replace them when they can no longer be updated, which means that they'll exist in the current status that they are in perpetuity. The updates are needed for things like state testing and that kind of thing, security updates. So we're requesting to replace 2 grades next year. So rising 5th graders and rising 9th graders will get new devices. But not on this sheet, but in Matt's overall presentation, you can recall that this number is being offset by the Chromebook insurance fund that our families are paying for, which to me seems like the best way to use that money. It makes logical and ethical sense. The same way that we're replacing Chromebooks, we have iPads in circulation that teachers and kindergartners and first graders are using on a day-to-day basis that are coming to the end of their updatable lives. Those are 150. And then the last bullet, which is replacement and new equipment. This is a combination of making sure that everything is working as it should, but also taking the opportunity to upgrade some of the places where we can. I'm sure some of you are aware that we're going through as many classrooms and office spaces as possible, starting about 5 years ago, and removing smart boards and kind of getting to be obsolete display technology with interactive new line panels. So a lot of the new equipment that we're talking about here are going to be classroom facing displays. And then in office spaces, it's thinking about flat panel TVs, just making sure that when we have classroom spaces and when we have office spaces, that they are seamless, they work, and that everybody's able to use the newest version possible. Lastly is the software driver, which is frankly the most difficult to wrangle of all of the, so. And we were able to do this year because licensing stayed pretty much flat, equipment stayed pretty much flat. But I can't say nearly the same about software. I think like a lot of other markets, we are noticing year over year subscription increases of anywhere between 5% and 50%, which is absolutely crazy. The way that we make this a manageable number is we think about redundancies where possible. Sometimes when software applications change or get acquired, they add new features. Sometimes that makes another thing that we're using obsolete or redundant. We look at usage stats across the district. How many teachers are using this? How many students are using it? Could we possibly do without it? Could we use another tool in a similar way without any loss of functionality? So the software is broken down into 3 different sub-buckets. We have K-6 software, we have 7 to 12 software, and then we have software applications that we're using across the district. This includes things like content software like BrainPop and Newsella, and it also includes security software like GoGuardian and Securely. And that obviously you see from the increases there. The software driver is the one that drives us to react in other areas, basically, especially in the middle. So I'll take any questions if you guys have them. Brian?
Just a quick question on kind of like our way that we procure the stuff.
Yep.
Do we, like, so now that Jason's phasing out and you're taking over a lot of the stuff, I'm looking mostly the left's column, like the licensing, the hardware stuff, the infrastructure pieces. Do you know or who we use? Who do we procure everything from? Like our Veeam, our Hyper-V? Is there a reseller, a partner that we go to, or we don't buy directly from Microsoft, or we don't buy directly from Veeam?
No, we have a clearinghouse. I think we actually have a couple. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Can I get that information to you?
I'd be curious to know that stuff because working in that industry, I know the margins that a lot of partners work off of.
Yep.
If I can be helpful in any way there, I'd love to.
That's great.
You talk about options. I know Hyper-V is a lot of customers are looking at to replace VMware.
Yep.
I know customers are looking at Nutanix and other options as well.
Yep.
So I'd love to help there if I can. And I'm curious, like I don't see any hardware, like big things. Like once in a while Jason would come to us with like server refresh or compute refresh. I don't see any of that on here yet.
So
maybe we're in an off year.
There's also an every other year
Yep.
Yes.
Network infrastructure.
On the capital.
On the it's all
Yeah.
capital stuff. I
And
know,
this
yeah.
isn't one of those years.
Good.
David, does this have anything to do with any new vendors that would be coming on for like comms or any of that stuff that could be looked at as far as like the website and all that stuff? Is that not for this budget?
I believe it is. Yeah, and there's savings there, and so like we talked about at the communications subcommittee, we're in the first year we're actualizing something like $15,000 in savings. So that's another thing that drives the licensing side down a little bit. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
With that, how much do you calculate for integration of any of these new softwares? I mean, teaching people and PD and all of that.
Especially with what Josh was referring to, when we go to a big new program like a website, like a mass communications platform, the first year has those startup trainings built into it. So we are paying for those things, but that's only on a year 1 basis.
And how often do you have to go to year 2 for that, for training or help?
I hope not. I hope by then it's something that we can sustain in-house, which I imagine it would be. Like we would provide the training and the troubleshooting and support.
It's like we talked about textbooks, and can you do the textbooks? You can't really even do that either, because even though they're online textbooks, they charge you for the usage every year, and then they charge you for every time
It comes with a subscription. Yeah.
Yeah, they get more expensive.
It's fascinating because we look at that and it's not a cost savings. And even in my textbook account, specifically like around world language, some science, we're paying for textbook licensing that are electronic and there is no savings.
I know, it's a little painful.
It is painful.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Ms. Merriweather,
Oh, fun.
here to listen.
Getting more and more fun by the minute.
Immature.
Alright, so for our new members, just wanted to give you the difference. So a fully insured plan is what people are most typically familiar with, where the employer pays a portion of the health insurance, the employee pays a portion of the health insurance, and then that just goes to an Anthem, a Cigna, and then they pay the claims, they take care of everything on their side. We're a little bit different where we're self-insured. So it's the same concept, the employee pays a portion, the employer pays a portion, and then we give that money, those premiums to ourselves, and they go into a separate fund. And in that separate fund, we pay out our own claims. So when fully insured, the Cigna or Anthem, whoever the health insurance agent is, they will pay out the claims, and if they give us a premium increase that is too high, they get to reap the benefits and keep that profit. If they give us a premium increase that's too low, they need to dip into their business to pay our claims, and they will readjust next year in their premiums. So at self-insurance, we set the premium increase based on our claims, and then we take that money in-house, and if our claims don't come to fruition, we have a nice healthy fund balance that we can use in future years to help offset our operating. Or if we don't follow the trend and we don't collect enough in premiums, then we'll have to dip into our fund balance and replenish the fund that way. So that first slide on page 4 is our health insurance claims analysis. So this is the major driver of our health insurance fund and what our premiums are typically based on as to how much they should increase or decrease in the coming budget year. So just starting all the way to the to the left, you'll have your fiscal year 25 projections. And these projections are done by our health insurance broker, Locked In. They have actuaries on hand. They get all of our claims data from Cigna, and they put together what our projections and claims will be for the upcoming budget year. So fiscal year 25 is closed, but initially they had projected that we would have claims of 16.7 million. And that was an increase to our budget of about 10.10%. And our actual for fiscal year 25 was actually only about 15.8 million. So about a 4.5% increase. And this has been the typical trend over the last several years, which is why Matthew believes it's just a projection, because that's how it's typically gone.
It's not unreasonable.
It's not unreasonable. Simsbury is typically below the industry standard. But if you start looking in fiscal year 26 in the middle of the page, Locked In's projection initially was a 3.4% increase at claims of about 17.2. Locked In then comes back during fiscal year 26 around this time of year. They revise those projections based on what they're seeing and the actual claims trends. And they are actually going in the opposite direction this time, where we're expected to be above the projections at a 4.3% increase, and claims are expected to be about $200,000 more than what was anticipated. So unfortunately, they feel that this trend is going to continue into fiscal year 27, and on the next few slides I'll take you through why. But for fiscal year 27, we had our initial projections back in October, where they thought we'd have claims of about 19.4 million, and we initially put into our budget 11% increase on our health insurance, and that is the initial budget that Matthew presented today at the 279 number. And then, like he said, a few days ago, we had a revised projection from Locked In where our claims trends are increasing, and we're going to be just shy of 20 million in our projected claims for fiscal year 27. So that gives us our 14.3% increase on our health insurance. So down below, I just broke that out for dollars for everybody. So the 11% premium increase is just over $1 million. But remember, the Board of Finance said that we can use health insurance reserves of $800,000. So the impact to the overall budget is about $250,000. Now with the new information, we have the 14% increase, and as has been mentioned, our increase is about $400,000 more with the 14% than the 11%. Any questions on that?
There's no question, I mean, it's just healthcare is a whole thing, right? But 15 rounding, 15 actual in 25 to 20 projected in 2 years is just, that's wild. But I mean, like
After, like, I felt like it was the opposite a few years ago, all of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
like 21, 22, 23, I felt like they came in favorable.
It did.
It did.
So in other words, like, increase in claims, for whatever reasons, people, costs have gone up, or more people have been sick, or
Yeah.
or whatever, it's just all of it.
and I don't doubt the numbers, I just, I mean, it's just crazy.
And we have to have it, right, to Jessica's point earlier, that we have to fund what their projections are.
Is that the last?
Yes.
That's the question.
We do not.
Yes.
But you're
I don't know,
you're
it's-
taking
It's a risk.
Yeah, it's a
It's a
risk,
risk
it's a
not
gamble,
to.
I get it, yep.
Yes. So I mean,
If we fund it and then we come back, then we could have potentially, hopefully a savings at the end, right, I mean,
well, so that's the thing. So if we do the 14% and we come in under, well, good for us for next year because that's gonna look great. But if we fund it at the 14% and then we're gonna be at another 14% next year, which is actually what the actuaries are saying, then, we're in a tough spot.
It's risky.
those actuaries.
Wait, can you say that one more time? So the actuaries are projecting 14% again for next year. The projections aren't just current, but they're gonna go forward for a year.
So they are for current year, but when we talk to our broker, they think that the trend is going to continue for next year.
Do you have a sense if this trend is driven by just a workforce that needs more care, or is it just that the rising cost of health insurance is driving this?
So it's actually an increase in our actual claims. So if you go to, that's a good segue to slide 5. So if you go to page 5, you'll see our claims trends for the last. So the first section is our reporting period from July 24 to June 2025. So this is a full year of claims. We're at about 15 million, and our per employee per month cost is about $1,800. Now, if you go down to that second line there, you'll see July 2025 through December 2025. This is only a half a year of claims. So we're already at just shy of 9.3 million, and our per employee per month expense has been about $2,300. So if we're at a half a year and you just say double it, we're already at about 18 million compared to the 15 million in a full year last year. So that's why
It's
there's
a dramatic increase.
How about a staff like PTO, not a PTO, what do you call the
Professional development.
professional development
On
on
healthcare?
healthy habits, healthcare.
We actually do that. That's our partners at Cigna
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's
offer
Cigna,
a
my account, we
number
do
of
that, yeah, so.
professional developments, and on our full day PDs, one's coming up in March, we actually use our professional development evaluation committee to look at all of the offerings, and I can share those with you, but there's one that is being offered in March, Healthy Habits,
Yeah.
and that's exactly what it's called.
But it's more, the cost of drugs are driving all of this. There's a lot that's driving that number.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So
Just the cost of care itself.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
so
GLP-1s.
we'll use this one for the budget because the next projection that they would wanna do is in another 3 months to get another set of claims history. So we could adjust it last minute and say March or April, but for the budget process, this is the final projection that we'll have.
forgive my ignorance on this, but is it less expensive for us to self-insure, or is we just went out to market and had a regular insurance policy for our employees? Would that provide a little more consistency or cost savings?
So, no, because when we have a fully insured plan, they set the premium and they get to retain any profits. If we have a fully insured plan, a self-insured plan, any of those profits go back to us in the next year as a reduction to our budget. So if we had, say, that 14% this year and we gave that to a fully insured company, but it really came in at 10%, they get to keep that 4%. In our self-insured, if we do 14% this year and it comes in at 10%, we get to keep that 4% savings to offset in future years.
But what are our rates with the providers? Because sometimes there is benefit in going to, let's say, Cigna because they have better negotiated rates with providers cost.
So we still utilize Cigna.
Use Cigna for that.
Yeah, so they still negotiate the rates on our behalf. It's just they don't pay out our claims. We pay out our own claims.
We're taking the risk and not
Right.
the company.
Can I ask, in the agreement with the staff, is any increase, is it ratio split? Because, staff pays part of the premium, so if there's increase, automatically goes, it's
That's
shared.
part of the collective bargaining that Neil
And is
does.
that the negotiation? Or we have
Yes.
to cover the full increase?
What's the question?
She's asking how much the staff pay towards their
Staff
premium.
ratio.
Do we keep the ratio consistent
It's been going
when
on.
the price goes up?
Teachers just finished their negotiation. They, I wanna say our side pays 78%, they pay 22% of the premium.
And we keep that ratio.
Well, it's always in
It's-
play, every
It's always in play during
negotiation cycle it
negotiation,
bumps
like,
up.
we ask for a half a point here or a
Yeah,
point there,
we
it's like
try
usually
to-
we try to.
Yeah, we increased that this year, but
We increased it.
And then just to finish answering your question, Jess, Lockton also does an analysis, especially compared to the state plan, because that seems to be really, really popular. So they did an analysis that if we were to transition over to the state plan, instead of keeping our self-insured plan, it would actually cost us an additional $1 million this year.
Well, you just think in basic terms, we're utilizing the 800, just lump that right back in, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
yeah.
And what was after FTE count, I'm sorry? I was just trying to get a price per staff.
Our FTE.
Or FTE.
Yes. I mean, 20 million for how many
How many,
staff we have?
I don't have that, how many?
I mean, I have a total FTE number, but I can't tell you how many are
How many
insured or don't take the
You
insurance.
choose to take the insurance or not.
Yeah, cause not everyone takes it, some
Yeah,
could be on the
some of them are
spouse.
dependents.
Yeah.
700?
Between 600 to
No,
700.
I could go get it, it's sitting in I have an insurance book in my office.
Right, but the health insurance fund is town and board, so the number of members is between 600 to 700.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, my mind, I mean, it's all good questions, but we're talking about the more things we control, new path, transportation, insurance, more things you control, you kind of in a way almost not fully insulate, but you control them a little bit more, right? It's your block, it's your stuff. So kind of keeping it there makes sense, and as far as the cost rising, this feels like do all the due diligence we can, I mean, projections are projections, right? And it seems really risky to get a projection and say, we're gonna like time the market or take a chance or play the house, right? Like,
Right.
it just doesn't seem
And it's
smart.
private and public, I think every company is dealing with,
Yeah, yeah. This feels very much like one that you just gotta wait and see, but you gotta plan based on the experts.
So that leads us to our large claims actually, so just looking at that data right below our employee per month data. The large claims for that full year, that top line, we had 11 large claims at about 2.7 million. And again, for just a half a year, we've already had 8, and we're already at about 2.4 million. So this is where we might be able to see some relief depending on the what those large claims do in the future. We've had, just knowing off the top of my head in the population, we've had a few surgeries that have been large claims. We've had cancer treatments, things of that nature. So some will stay on, some might come off. So to Matthew's point, these are projections. And if people continue to have those larger surgeries, obviously we won't see a reduction there, but that's where we could see some relief, and that number could come down at some point. And then moving on to slide 6, this is actually our reserve levels in our health insurance fund. So right now, we are anticipating at the end of fiscal year 26 that we'll have just shy of $7 million in reserves in the health insurance fund. We keep talking about the $800,000 that the Board of Finance has let us use to offset our operating budgets and create some relief there. So that $1 million, $800,000 for the Board of Ed and $200,000 for the town. So this would give us our available reserves of about 5.9 million, just shy of 6. And then the reserve as a percent of expected claims is just shy of 30%. The target that we need to shoot for in reserves is 20 to 25% of expected claims. So as you can see, this this is a very healthy fund. We would be able to utilize that extra 5%, if you will, as a feather in, because that $800,000 does create a cliff, or if it doesn't come to fruition, we can reduce that cliff going into next year. So there is some room here, and one of the benefits of being self-insured is that we can utilize these reserves.
So this is significantly, let's just say it, is significantly overfunded.
But it provides that, and for good reason, because it provides flexibility to.
I understand, but if the
Offset.
target's 20 to 25 and we're sitting at shy of 30, that's
But immediately some of that'll be utilized on a feather plan.
I get it.
You know what
Just wanna,
So yeah.
just wanna call
And I did the math, like the 20.
But Amy might give me 100 more.
28,000, give or take, that's roughly, I'm not in healthcare, but I'm assuming the premium for a family is.
But that's our share, right? Because we're talking about our budget. So I'm assuming that's 80% of the cost that you're showing.
No, that's the full cost
Of-
of the claims.
Yeah, so that's not the full our cost, so it is 50.
I was just doing the math of like the $20 million, if you have 700 members, it's like $28,000 ish of claims
Yeah.
average per person. That's, I'm pretty sure a premium, I'm not, all the healthcare people is,
This was all staff, right? Not the ones that are sure.
I don't know. It seemed like a
Yeah,
expensive.
I think what she's asking is, are these documents about healthcare for Board of Ed and Board of Selectmen or just Board of Ed?
They're both.
They're both, so these are town, full town, full loaded,
Yes.
not, they haven't pulled us out of it.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, no, I was just, we were working the math, that's what I was.
To Jeff's point on the reserves, right? Am I oversimplifying that the way you get to a reserve in this fund is we budget for the projection based on the experts. Then the actuals happen. The difference is the reserve.
Correct.
And then the reserve goes here, and then you go into the next year and you do it. The one variable you have is how much of it you use for other stuff in your budget cycle. Like the reserve right here, we can use some of this reserves for other things?
To find other things. Anything outside of health insurance?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting to
No.
Jeff's point.
For health insurance reserves, they can only be used for health insurance.
So I agree, guidance 2025, we're up at 30, but how do you bring that number down?
Right. So the only option would be
That's what I'm saying, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
unless you just don't budget for
You could have a double
projection.
bounce.
you would
Lower their.
and then you'd have a bigger cliff. So that's the challenge.
That's
Yes,
what I'm
the
getting at. Yeah.
the fund, this is Amy and I all the time, right? The fund is healthy. Hey, can we pull a little more out? You can theoretically, but you gotta feather more back in. So there's always a risk
Doesn't
to
feel like
that.
there's a lot of levers here, right?
Yes, you
The
stupid.
experts give us a
Right,
number,
right.
we budget for it,
Yeah.
Can I say
life happens, and
Yeah.
you have a difference.
I see a stupid question, admittedly stupid, and I know I've got a lot of those. So I'm just curious about if we're over projections, I'm curious why would you even have to feather anything back in? Right? If you're still, you know what I'm trying to make?
Yeah. So you got a base number in your budget,
Right,
right? That's the projection.
right.
We're basically putting $800,000 less than that in the number because you're pulling it from there. You roll your base next year, you gotta account for that 800,000 somewhere. Now, it's not 100% true, Cliff, because
Right.
it's a projection, it might move
I see what
a
you're
little
saying.
bit.
So we're gonna take a loss in the health insurance fund of $1 million
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm
to
with you.
save your budget $800,000.
Yeah, no, I'm with you now. Okay.
And that's what I meant by the other
Yeah.
stuff, like it helps the budget, bottom line is what I was getting at.
Yeah, you do it right in that line
I
item,
was
because
thinking
it's
like
so
you have to pay it back in or something like that. Yeah, I'm with you now, sorry.
But
I
if
told
you're
you it was dumb.
expecting that, or you're thinking, right, there's more to that projection, because if really those big claims are front loaded and we're basing it only on January through December, and it's similar to what we saw all last year, this can really skew the numbers significantly. And we are not jeopardizing, but you say if we need to cut 400, we're talking about people, right?
Right.
It's just, I think it makes sense to really dive in a little bit more into that and make sure that the money that we're putting aside, or maybe it's worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
Funding a little bit less.
that's a good-
If you really feel that this is, wanna make big changes that can.
No, it's-
Moving out.
That's always the struggle, right? It's like, it's similar to other areas where we project, right? Like the enrollment. you make decisions on staffing enrollment and want to plan 3 years out, and once the enrollment starts to go up, they're going to carry that upward trend until something happens, right? So it's front loaded. You're absolutely right.
It just
Can have more discussion on it. Yeah.
Feels like
Sorry, I didn't mean
a
to
little bit of a
derail it.
dangerous game to say,
Totally.
like, hey, we've been doing good, let's go against the projection, and then you just. So to your point, Joe, I agree, like, I keep going back to like 30%, it's high, but it's better than the alternative.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it.
Which is, our actuals keep coming in.
If you're
above
talking about a controlled number in this instance, it might be safer to pull it from non-lapsing than back to that fund. I mean, those are the kind of conversations we gotta think about.
But also to get from like the 25% of expected claims for that 30%, it's only $1 million, which could
Yeah.
be one claim sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. It's like special ed expenditure.
So I guess at the end of the day, Amy and Matt, like, is there anything we can really say or do here, right? We're talking about it, I get a sense of where, like, it's a big number. Is it whether or not we wanna go with the projection in our budget or not? Is that really, like, I mean, that's really the only play for us, right?
Yeah.
Strategically speaking, projection came in at this. I'm gonna put this in the budget, Matt. And we say, I don't know, maybe we can do something else, or
So I think, based on the conversation before, I'm right with you, I'm in alignment with you. We come back out on Tuesday, it's a $400,000, delta between where the guidance is and where we are.
Yep.
What would our ideas be to get there, absent maybe of that fund?
Yep.
And then we have that conversation of all these other areas and impact and what we think is best or don't think is best moving forward, and we get your insights on that.
Okay.
And shit.
Pension and OPEB. So that first line item, we have our defined pension plan, we have our annually required contribution. Everything here is pretty status quo. Sometimes you'll see that we'll have a change in interest rate assumptions or mortality tables that'll impact this, but for this current year, everything is status quo. The $60,000, sometimes it's to the good, sometimes it's to the bad this year. It's actually to the good, that needs to change. Or did I do this?
Right, yeah. It's negative. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it did decrease, okay. So for the defined benefit plan, really nothing to talk about. But we do have stuff to talk about under the other post-employment benefits. So this is called our OPEB trust fund. It is a trust fund that we have been funding over the last several years. And within the last year or two is actually 100% funded. So this is a fund that we have had that we have not used because it has not been 100% funded. It acts the same way a defined benefit plan does, but just think of it as a trust for your retiree claims. So just on the side of health insurance, we have a retiree. We give them their premium. They pay a portion of the premium. The Board of Ed pays a portion of the premium. It goes into the health insurance fund, and then we pay out the claims. So what we're going to do here, we're going to start utilizing our trust fund. So we're actually going to take the benefit of this trust fund. We're going to start pulling dollars out of this trust fund because right now everything is paid through our health insurance fund. So anything that is related to the cost of the Board of Ed, we are going to transition that to taking that money out of the trust. So this is the Board of Ed share of any retiree premiums. So the retiree will still pay their share, and now the Board of Ed portion will be paid by the OPEB trust. So that first line item is typically, go to the second line item where it says BOE retiree premium. So for fiscal year 26, this is the Board of Ed share of the retiree premiums. So the Board of Ed pays $293,000 towards retiree health insurance. Now in fiscal year 27, that line item right above it, we're going to replace that with an annually required contribution into our fund. So it's going to be treated just the same that we do our defined benefit plan, except we're going to utilize our trust. So since it's at 100% funded and we're going to start taking money out of it, we now need to make a contribution into it so it stays at that 100% level, theoretically. So our OPEB ARC for fiscal year 27 is about $391,000. So this is actually costing us money this year in our operating budget to the tune of $97,000. So why would we want to do that? Utilizing this trust, Milliman came out, they are our actuaries, they came out and they did a presentation on the use of their trust over the next 20 years. So over the next 20 years, we are expected to save about $20 million over 20 years. So we're not going to see the benefit right up front because all we're doing is transitioning from paying a portion of the premium to paying a contribution into our trust fund. The reason that we want to start utilizing our trust fund is because the trust fund earns investment returns that are higher than the general fund. So our general fund, we are very restricted at what we can invest in. We can invest in money markets, CDs, things that are very low risk. In the trust fund, they can actually go out into the market and make better investments with better returns. So the investment earnings to cover the cost of the benefits over time is one of the benefits of using the trust. Whereas in the long run, we're reducing our overall cost, but in the short term, there's actually a cost to us. But utilizing those investment earnings at a much higher rate is going to streamline, like I said, the 20 million over the 20 years. The other thing is when you utilize the trust and you're paying an ARC instead of a portion of the premium, it smooths out the volatility from year to year. So things like going from what did we have last year? Going from a 3% health insurance increase to a 14% health insurance increase no longer happen because the actuaries are going to smooth that out so that our contribution into the pension fund is going to stay relatively flat, even though our expected return every year could be volatile. We no longer have to have that volatility inside of our budget. And then the $97,000, which Matthew talked about, is going to be contributed to our use of non-lapsing to get through that 1 year of an increase into our operating budget. Any questions on that? That's a lot.
It's a lot.
I have one.
I followed that all the way through.
Amy, if using the trust as per Milliman, if using the trust will save us 20 million over 20 years, cause you can invest more potential for better returns with the trust than the general fund. Is it risk, is it regs, is it a combination of both that we wouldn't put more into the trust from the general fund than just for the retirees?
So we can only use the trust for the retirees.
Based on requirements, like can we do something like a trust for our other non-retirees?
No. So, I mean, that's a good question on the health insurance.
Right. It's
Side
risk,
of
there's
things,
probably a
'cause
risk
the health
side.
insurance, you're going year to year, you're
Right.
active employees, whereas like a defined benefit plan or an OPEB trust, that's long range planning, you're looking at mortality rates, you're looking at interest rates, people, hopefully coming off and using their spouse's insurance like long term as opposed to coming on. So I think it's different because you
So
would
let me
have
ask
to rely on the earnings every year for the health insurance fund, which could be volatile.
So ask another way maybe then, the money that's in the reserves that we just talked about in the last slide, do we invest that more like a general fund with those more restrictions on what we can invest in, or do we treat it more like a trust where there's more flexibility? And again, back to is it a risk or a reg thing on using that general fund more like the trust, how we invest? Not to get an answer now, but is there something there, like if Milliman's coming back saying, because of how you invest your trust, you're gonna be better off. Like good for the goose, good for the gander, why wouldn't we also look at our bigger pot of money and say, should we be investing that similarly? Maybe not all the
Because
way.
by state statute, we can't.
Okay, so it is reg. Alright, thank you.
I have a question, or a suggestion. I was on the subcommittee, the retirement plan subcommittee for the last few years. I think I'm off now.
Sylvia.
You now?
Sylvia.
That's you. In the past, for before Todd left us, he and I were on it together. I nominate another person, maybe if you wanna sit on that one, it's a good one, it's a subcommittee that talks about all of this.
It is
Have you been on one yet?
Did Lydia put you up to that?
It's
Did Lydia ask you to?
This couldn't have played out better for you.
I'm just saying,
I
like,
turned my
if
head
you
for
if
one
you care,
minute.
I mean, it's a lot to take in. I always
Ryan
was like,
people is
it was like over my head, a lot of this stuff, you know, I mean, so, I don't know.
I think you should all go.
yeah.
Yes, there you go.
I like the technology.
I'm out.
aspect.
Mark's out.
You should have an in-service, you never know.
In service, yeah.
Because those
PD
guys go
session.
through this whole thing, like they go through a massive year on it, right? I mean, they go through a lot of this stuff, and it's like, yo, like Todd would ask questions, I would just be on mute. the whole time.
Oh, Todd, our
He's an actuary.
actuary. We loved it.
Correct.
We miss him.
I don't know if we have anyone that's in that wheelhouse, but
So we are committed though to this amount based on this company's proposal. We said, okay, we're gonna be putting aside that much money.
Right.
They told us to for the next 20 years, so that's what we're working on.
And the worst part is this is a good slide.
Yes.
it is.
Because every year we look at it and we're like, oh my God, how bad is it gonna be? What's it gonna be? It's gonna be so expensive. But this means that it's not as expensive as it usually is.
Right.
And there's
So-
more good news coming, right?
Right, yeah, so I mean, I'm taking this as a win.
It's not an actual, right? It's putting the money into the
Upfront.
fund.
Upfront a little bit more.
Yes, exactly.
But
So in
that
the
we're
long
using
run, it would be-
reserves. I mean, this is a good use of reserves, I feel like.
I mean, I guess at the end of the day, the biggest thing is right now, the way that we're funding it, we get no long-term relief because we don't have as high of investment earnings to return to provide us that relief. By switching over to the OPEB, we have higher investment earnings, which will over time reduce our overall expense. I guess that's the big takeaway.
Nice.
Thank you.
School is out. Revenues and grants.
Nice.
Come on up, Melissa.
We need another 400, Melissa.
I already asked that today.
Here we are.
Grants, anything in there? Okay, so we are now on page 8 of that packet. This outlines our state and federal grants that we receive typically on an annual basis. And sort of a breakdown just to give you a general picture of how we spend that money or what categories we spend that money in. I can elaborate on any of these, but I thought I would just touch on a couple that are major drivers for the coming year. The first, and they're all under state, so the first one I'll talk about is open choice. The attendance and the early learning are both based on the number of open choice students that come to our district from Hartford. We receive a certain dollar amount per student. Pre-K to 12 for the attendance grant. Our enrollment under open choice went up this year, so that's really the number that we'll use to project for next year because that's the best information we have when we're doing the budget. And then the early learning, we actually receive an additional amount for every pre-K and kindergarten student, and that count went up as well. So that is a big driver there. The third I wanted to mention was this Special Education Expansion and Development, or SEED grant. This is brand new for fiscal year 26. This was a program that was funded last legislative session. It's formula based. It's similar to the way ECS, or our education cost sharing grant, is calculated. The program was not fully funded, but we did get about $99,000 in fiscal year 26. And as you can see, we are projected to receive about $85,000 next year based on the state estimates that just came out this week. So this year we were able to use that money primarily to support the New Path program. Next year we have not yet identified what we'll use the grant money for. Obviously it's special education focused. It has to be for direct services. It can be used for salaries, but it has to be new positions. It can't be your existing staffing. You can't use it for admin costs or third-party contractors. So there is some guidance around how we can use it. So potentially an opportunity there.
So that was code. So what she did there in the last 4 or 5 sentences was, Matt, you can't take this for
Yep.
A, B,
Yes.
or C.
I don't think it was code at all. I think
There will be more conversation about that flexibility of the seed grant.
Can I buy my new Latimer Lane teacher?
That's what I was. That's exactly what I was.
You could, but how are you gonna pay for it in fiscal year 28?
Well, That's up for discussion.
It's an excellent
Cross
plan,
that
but
bridge
that's.
when we get there.
It's up for discussion.
You'd have
Right.
a lower insurance increase next year.
That's right.
So if there's any specific questions on any of these, I'm happy to take them. Nothing major. I know Katie touched on the IDA. It wasn't a major change, but as she said, it did decrease slightly this year, which is unusual. But as of now, the federal grants have been pretty stable.
Melissa, go ahead.
So we're seeing the grants and how are we kind of earmark them to use them? I'm just wondering if all of these, let's say open choice program, the special ed, ideally, it would be nice to see in one place what is the overall cost for that particular program or that we're doing, and how much is covered by the grant.
Help me understand that more. What do you?
Well, for example, special ed maybe it's easier because we know how separate budgets, we know how much it costs the town and how much it's covered by grants. Open choice, we don't have much information. Let's say, do we have a cost, overall cost? How much, is there anything in addition to the town that has a cost and how much is covered by the grants? Usually I see budget, overall budget for the whole year.
No, I hear
It's
you.
covered by the grant
No, I
by
hear you.
line item,
Yeah.
and then the remaining costs.
I guess I'm just trying to associate that with open choice represents individual students.
Okay.
They pay a portion of their per pupil, it's how you want to look at it, right? Their per pupil expenditure. We then say this is the balance of a per pupil expenditure that's uncovered by open choice dollars would net a certain number. You know what I mean? It's not a
It's not a.
it's a unique example. I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. We could think through that a little bit.
Do we still have to have the 4% population?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you get more.
You get more money. If you have a 4% population of students in the open choice program assigned to your schools,
It's tiered.
then you get a little bit better insight. You get more money
Per student.
per student.
And on these grants, I'm hoping there will be, they said there will be announcement of a security grant. Are we gonna be applying for that?
Security grant.
Yes, have we used those in the past? There were good funding coming in from the state.
No, I've not heard of a security.
We have not had security grant dollars that we've
But if there's
used it
something.
through the every other fund from the capital is how we've spent our security dollars.
Because this can be also retroactive. Let's say you bought or installed the front doors for safety reasons
Yeah.
or ballistic or security cameras.
Mhm.
You can actually even retroactively apply for some.
I'll look into that, thank you.
As long as they reopen it. They said they're gonna reopen it again.
In this cycle? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Good there?
Melissa, one
Yeah.
question, just curiosity, since this projections for 26-27,
Yeah.
obviously, especially when you're looking at federal stuff, you never know, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Is there anything here that you would just, again, not set in stone, that you would just say from like your expert view, like where you feel like you're a little concerned, like let's keep our eye on this one or that one, just curious if there's anything that's.
Yeah, normally I would say no, except for the open choice, because it really just does depend on what comes in for our October 1st count for next school year. Like I said, the federal grants have been pretty stable. I'm always, in this climate, I'm just keeping an eye on it, especially because IDA went down. Again, it was negligible. It was like 25,000, but that was unusual. So, the title programs are usually pretty stable. I think they were basically flat up like 5,000 this year. So no, I don't. Other than that,
Thank you.
okay. So page 9. So at the top here, we're basically showing budget to budget our gross expenditures, less our projection for the federal and state grants. So that middle column, sort of they're projected for 27, that 6 million in grants ties back to the prior page, for sort of a gross budget. And then off to the right, the percentage increase, 2.79, ties back to the figure we've been discussing today. And then down below, the revenues there, they don't directly offset the Board of Ed budget. Those are revenues that come in directly to the town general fund. But they are education related, so we talk about them here. The tuition fees that we charge for students coming from other communities to our district, the rental of our buildings, the fees we collect for that. We sort of have a miscellaneous category for things like vendor rebates and refunds. And then the largest one, of course, is our ECS, the education cost sharing, which, as I noted, was formula based, and that's essentially flat projected for the current budget to next year, based on the estimates we got from the state just this week.
Explain to new people how that goes to the town, it doesn't go to us.
Oh, sure. So, as I said, all these revenues do not go directly, they go directly to the town general fund, so it doesn't offset the bottom line for the Board of Ed budget. It does go in obviously to the overall picture for the total tax increase and how that's all calculated, but the Board of Ed itself does not sort of see that revenue as a benefit to the budget on this side.
But do you see an overall increase? If you see though that you will be bringing more revenue, you can make the case, okay, we're bringing more, can we afford to have a little bit more of a higher increase or something?
I try to do that, yes.
If you do, I'm not saying you do.
No, a couple years ago, to your point, we received quite a bump. It was about $800,000. And it did help us in terms of the overall equation and the flexibility with where we were with the guidance at the time. Yep.
On that last one there, adult ed, that's just a partial reimbursement for the state mandated adult ed courses. So we only get about 16% back on what we
How much,
spent.
what percentage?
16.
16% back on, and those courses are English as a second language and
The GED
GED.
course. Yep. So we actually contract out with Farmington, we pay them about $51,000 a year for that, and then we get back, between $8,000 and $9,000 a year.
Just in general, is that program going up, down? Just curious.
It took a real hit during COVID.
Sure, yeah.
And then it's come back. In fact, our program shrunk so much, that's when we partnered with Farmington Public Schools, continuing ed. And it's grown enough that we still operate through Farmington. They hire the teachers, but we are running classes again at Henry James
That's
at night.
encouraging. Okay, so
Yeah.
people are
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
Is it it's mandated that we offer it, correct?
There are certain
ESL.
right, we only contract out what's mandated, so you get
Right.
a brochure in the mail from DCE, that's not from
Right,
Simsbury DCE,
there are a lot of them,
that's not.
but there are classes that are mandated and we only get 16% back from the state for the ones that they're making us teach.
Yes.
Just need to say that out loud sometimes. Right? I mean, I just
You
need
are correct.
to say it out loud. Thank you for listening.
Excellent.
That's
Thank
it
you,
on
Melissa.
that. You're welcome.
All right, we have kind of an abbreviated line item, just a couple pages, with the understanding that we're gonna come back Tuesday night with more detail. So I was just, before Amy gets into that, I was just talking to Jeff, that would leave us with 2 items to go over, which are CNR and kind of year 1 capital and looking at that. I would propose we do those Tuesday evening as well, so that we have an agenda of substance. In addition to the 400,000, we have a couple topics that we can really talk through in that regularly scheduled meeting. So that was my thought. So Amy's line item would be the last item we're talking about. Go for it.
It's Tuesday, something to look forward to.
Now we have something to look forward to with CNR on Tuesday.
See that?
That's exciting.
Not a whole lot.
It's gonna be very short. And even less, as we discussed, always discuss.
If you really wanna get excited, I can do OPEB again.
We have a few minutes to revisit OPEB, my favorite.
I take a second run
I could do
through.
a different explanation.
I'm more of a 10-1 guy. Neil wants to do anything.
Yeah, that is your day. You guys have that going on. For sure.
Okay.
Alright, so I'll just take you through this document briefly, starting on page 10. So all of our salaries and wages, this is how we developed Matthew's superintendent budget presentation. So when it comes to his salary and wages line item here, all of the items that are included within that total that he had presented. So we have all of our collective bargaining groups, we have our contingency that we use for contracts that have not been completed yet, or unaffiliated. We have our vacancy rate, and then we have a line item for our overtime, our subs, student activities, shared services, things of that nature. So your overall budget increase for the salaries is at 2.1 at 2.4% of the budget as part of the increase. And then when we get down to the employee benefits, that $809,000 that Matthew had presented, that is a combination of a few things. It includes our Social Security, our health insurance, which is the biggest one, our pension and OPEB, which we just walked through, and then some smaller items for our life, disability, wellness, employee reimbursements, things of that nature. So the two biggest drivers there. And then just moving down, we have our professional services and supplies. Moving on to the next page. Our regular transportation costs. And then here is our special education, which includes the items that Katie can walk you through, which is our out of district, our transportation, the excess cost reimbursement, again, we kept flat, which Katie had talked through during her presentation, because we're not expecting any additional funding there, and then our contracted services. Moving down to the equipment, this is what Dave took you through on his slide. We have our equipment, Dave and Neil, I should say. We have our equipment costs, our repair, our replacement, and then the use of the Chromebook fund to offset those costs for this year, which gives us our $362,000 budget line item, which is our decrease of $246,000, which Matthew had presented. Facilities, I'm gonna skip that just because it's such a small decrease. And then down to get to our total budget, we have our operating offsets, which is the grants that Melissa took you through. We have a reimbursement for a staff person on our Department of Ed, and then we have some reimbursements from Medicaid that we apply for. So this gives a reduction to our budget of about 1.7 million. Which gets us to the total budget of $91,842,000, and that's 3.4%. And then these slides on page 12 match exactly to Matthew's presentation. The use of non-lapsing, the reduction in certified FTE that Neil took you through, and then your budget additions that Katie and Neil walked you through. Those individual ones to get to our overall increase of the 2.4 or our percent increase of 2.79.
Thank you, Amy. I would just add on Tuesday, you'll receive, and we'll get it out ahead of time so you have a chance to absorb it. A document that has each of these line items, last year's actual, projected where we'll end at the end of this year, and then some of this detail too, so you can see and ask specific questions on, hey, why is this only projected to maybe be 50 under or whatever, and we can kind of work through some of that level of detail. But that's a pretty good snapshot of where we are. So at the end of the day, with the 400 in, we're at 3.25% increase. With the 400 out, we're at 2.7. We'll come back Tuesday with line item detail and suggestions on the 400 to kind of wrestle with and have conversations with impact statements. No decisions on our number at the Board of Ed level need to be made on Tuesday night. We have the board votes the following meeting later in February. So we'll have time to come up with scenarios, respond to questions. If people go home and before the Super Bowl want to analyze all this stuff again and provide us with any questions, just email.
So call you at around 6?
You can call me.
Right. Tomorrow night.
You know where I'll be in my chair.
Just can't call me.
You own it. Say it. Believe it.
We'll go from there, but we'll also go through CNR. We have a detailed developed list on CNR and want to have that conversation. And we'll vote on year one of capital at the next board meeting as well.
We'll vote
Alright.
in a regular meeting.
Chair Tyndall, any words of wisdom for the group?
No.
Then we'll-
No, I think just we are appreciate everybody hanging
This
tough
is kind of
in
the
these
big one.
conversations. It's we're certainly as kind of ridiculous as it sounds, having to deal with 400,000 is certainly much better place than where we have been in past years. So just appreciate everybody's work on this to get us to where we are. So
I'd also like to clear up for Sylvia and my friend Steve that the thing that Jen and Neil love on October 1st is the enrollment meeting. So we talk about all the numbers, all the
and
kids who actually are coming in, and it's exciting.
There's a tab in there on Neil's presentation.
There's a lot of
The
data,
best. Lots of
but
numbers.
it's something to look forward to. October 1st will be a big meeting.
Don't miss that one.
Or the closest meeting to October 1st.
Clear the calendar.
I am with
Be
you,
prepared.
Neil.
Jeff, one question for you,
Yeah.
and Matt too,
Yeah.
just for a wrap up. One tab we didn't get to, I just want, does the 6-year plan play all into any of this, or is it just completely separate?
We are going to look at that on Tuesday night, just so you can see what's in the out years. That's more about trying to present a plan that fits under a cap, but it doesn't impact your operating.
but the reality is
That's
It does.
Or any.
yeah.
It does, but it doesn't, but it does.
Okay, with that, I would
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Oh, did you have a question?
Thank you.
Good, you can read Tuesday.
Thank you.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings, and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions, and it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth, and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.